Hello, everybody. Welcome to another series of podcasts that we are doing at Go Global World. And today we have a webinar with speakers from Russia. And this is a special webinar where we are trying to discover what is the startup ecosystem in Russia. We have pre-selected a few speakers who will cover today's topic. And this event is going in partnership with Go Global World, between Go Global World and Ask VC. I would like to present Denis Kalyshin, the founder of Ask VC. It's a great community for founders also from around the world who is interested in startups and venture capital. And he has a lot of great content to share with you. You probably know me because I speak a lot at our webinars, but I'm the founder of Go Global World, and we are committed to build a startup ecosystem for global founders based on values, equal and free access to knowledge how to start a company, access to network, and access to opportunity to raise capital. So if you are the founder who is trying to build a company or trying to scale a company and you need a quality network, access to capital, at Go Global World, we are here to help you with that. So please meet Denis Kalyshin. He will give a few words about Ask VC and he will present the speaker.
Yeah, thanks, Daniil. I'm basically, I work for majority of my work experience in venture capital. I am a principal at ATB Global Ventures, and a couple of years ago, I understood that there is a misunderstanding between VCs and founders in how they communicate, and started as a hobby, just sharing information and showing how you should pitch your ideas better, so that improve your chances to succeed. And this hobby led to founding this Ask VC community. It's actually mostly a media project. And as a person, I typically say to people that you need to look at business opportunity, not like looking at some like red flags on green flags, but looking as an entrepreneur and thinking of what opportunities I can get in this geography or other geographies, because a lot of startups expand into the US market, but sometimes it's very competitive, and sometimes maybe the better opportunity would be to look for the market somewhere else. For example, Pipedrive expanded to Brazil and build a big business. And this is what, first of all, this is what this webinar is about, is talking about some alternatives, cons and pros of another geographic market, and a lot of what I do. We have today Dmitry Kalaev. He's a director at acceleration program at IIDF. It's a very I'd say it's a top one accelerator in Russia in CIS. They did a pretty amazing job of educating the market, backing a lot of founders, helping them expand to other geographic markets. And I believe Dmitry has a lot of experience and understanding of specifics of our market and our founders. So tell us a couple of words about yourself, and let's move forward with the topic.
Thank you, Denis. My name is Dmitry Kalaev. I'm a partner of IIDF VC. We are a fund and we invest in startups. And I'm a CEO of IIDF Acceleration Program. And also, my previous life was connected with IT companies. I'm one of the founders, Russian company Naumen. It's a B2B enterprise company with more than $30 million revenue, which was founded in 2001. And I was one of the person who started this company. Right now, I am one of the shareholders and the board member of this company. Since 2013, we've invested in about 400 startups. I mean, IIDF VC. And I also run an acceleration program. Our acceleration program helps over 200 startups each year to enter the market or accelerate the growth. We have special program for Russian market. I mean the Russian startups which have a plan to growing up on the Russian market, and also we have a special program to go global. Our program called Go Global. During the last 2 or 3 years, we helped more than 250 startups starting his business everywhere around the world, and this is one of our core competence right now. As I said, we have more than 400 startups in our portfolio, and we've made more than 50 exits so far. And we actually investing in startups with Russian founders. We believe that the potential of Russian founders is underestimated, and our mission is to help them to achieve international success. And as investor, we right now invest at seed and stage Series A. Our average ticket ranged between $100,000 and $3 million for one company.
What a great introduction. Thank you so much. So I don't want to hold our audience with the main question of today. What does a startup ecosystem in Russia looks like, and what problems startup face, and how do they overcome them?
Actually, it's a very complicated question. I think that we can talk about it many hours, but I try to be short. On the one hand, we have a full infrastructure in Russia. We have a lot of founders, we have accelerators. Actually, I was surprised that in Russia we have more than 300 acceleration programs. We have a lot of angel investors, VC firms, and we have some strategic investors. And actually, Moscow is one of the top cities in the world for startups, according to Startup Blink Research Center. If I'm right, we're somewhere in 15 or 17 place in the world. But on the other hand, the Russian market is not so big and not so active as US market or as Chinese market. And the main problem is that we don't have a strong M&A activities. For example, in our portfolio, as I said, we have more than 400 startups. And in area of our investment, we have only 20, we have about 20-25 investment merchant acquisition every year in the Russian market, not more. It means that if we want to sell our companies in the Russian market, we have to wait 15 or more years. And Russian market is one of the biggest market in Europe. But if you have to have strategic investors, it's not the best market in Europe. And our market looks like a road with a traffic jam. We have a lot of startups on the road, we have a lot of angel investors on the road, but at the end of the road, we don't have enough strategic investors for acquisition. Founders and angel investors and VC companies can't exit from the startups on the Russian market. And this is why many Russian startups go global, because they want to have strategic investors everywhere in the world. And this is why in the last 2 years, angel investors and VC companies from Russia have preferred to invest in startups with global traction. And this is why our main acceleration program in IDF has been Go Global. And this is how I see the Russian market right now.
I would also add a couple of words is that a lot of founders are actually doing. Sorry, I have a kid next door. I have a lot of founders expand to the US and and a lot of technology companies working on global standards. So you can find pretty experienced people here, as tech people, data scientists, and also so if you're thinking about the talent pool. But and yeah, we with M&As, but actually, for example, India for quite a while have been experiencing the same problems, and investors were just betting on that of like a huge number of people, but unlike the country is a little bit smaller. So speaking of exit opportunities and how big could it be, so how do you see, like, do we have any unicorns and maybe cases of Russian companies becoming big companies? Just to give an idea for
Yeah. Yes, I agree with you that Russian market is quite good. Yes, it's not the best market. Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Great. Yes, I agree with Denis that the Russian market is not the best, but it's quite huge, and we have a lot of opportunity. And for example, we can recall some international market, international company which was started with Russian founders and started from Russian market. For example, like Miro. Just a few weeks ago, this company attracted a new investment round with a few $100 million and with capitalization, if I'm right, $70 billion. This company was founded in the middle of the Russia. And it's a good example, and they still have engineer team in Russia because Russia is one of the best places in the world with talents, with people who can produce a good software and who have a good mathematical background. Actually, not good, a fantastic mathematical background. Or, for example, we have InDriver company, which was founded in Yakutsk. It's one of the coldest place in the world, and right now they have more than $1 billion capitalization, and they provide his service in 100 countries in the world. All these companies work on the growing global markets. The Russian market is not big enough for the built unicorns, but we have some company with $1 billion capitalization. For example, Yandex. Russia, if I'm right, the only one country in the world where we have good competitors of the Google. Yandex is a Russian local search engine. Right now, it's not only search engine; it's a ride-hailing company, delivery company, and a lot of other kind of businesses. But originally, Yandex was the competitor of the Google, and in Russia, Yandex have more than half of Russian market. For example, we have a fantastic fintech company. Actually, it's a bank, but it's a bank without offline branches. From day one, it was online. I mean, Tinkoff Bank. For me, it's fantastic because it's actually in Russia we have a fantastic fintech level of services. For example, we can pay online everywhere. We can pay by PayPass and other stuff. We're one of the best places
to be
in
honest,
the world with adoption of
yeah, sorry. Actually, I paid in a very small village once with the Apple Pay, so it was crazy. Yeah. Speaking of good
yeah, we have one of the best adoption of new technology in fintech in the world. For example, we have Headhunter. It's a recruitment company which helps businesses to find a new employee. This company with more than 1 billion capitalization 2 years ago, if I'm right, it was going into the IPO on Nasdaq. This is the whole company with capitalization more than 1 billion. And in some niche, we have enough space, enough clients, enough money for the build a big company. But as I said, actually, if you build a company in Russia, it could capitalization could less than worldwide. For example, I thought about the Reich company. Reich capitalization is more than $2 billion. In Russia, we have local competitors with the same level of functionality. For example, we have a Megaplan company with the same business model, with quite similar functions and features, but the capitalization of Megaplan is not more than $20 million. And actually, it's just a reality, because US market or Chinese market 10 times, somewhere 100 times more than Russian market. What it means? At the same time, we have a good opportunity in some niche, but somewhere our market is not so good, and I think that the same situation everywhere in the world. Just to choose the right solution for the right market, and if you have a product market fit, you will have a success.
All right. So then, if you're speaking about external startups coming from around the world, there is a common perception of Russia that is just a tiny percentage of global GDP. What are the pros and cons of expanding to Russia?
Daniel, excuse me, can you repeat one more time? I didn't get the idea.
No problem. So there is a common perception for international people and business people that Russia is just a couple percent of global GDP, so just a tiny portion of global GDP. So what are the pros and cons of expanding to Russia?
Okay. Actually, the main cons is that no, from the other side. I think that if you started on the Russian market, for example, you are Russian founders and the first market was the Russia. This is just a state. I mean, your first market is Russia. But for example, if you started, if you have a choice where to start, the Russian market is in many areas is not the first. And I mean that it's just a pragmatic choice where you have a lot of clients, where the best place from amount of users, amount of money, and so on. And for example, if you do something in the oil and gas area, maybe Russia is one of the best place in the world, because we're one of the biggest producer of this stuff. For example, if you want to produce something for small and medium businesses, I think that Russia is not the best place, not the best place in the world where you will start. But what the Russia, what the strongest side of Russian market? If you have relations, and one of co-founders in your team have a good relation and a good understanding of Russian market, you can grow fast. Maybe it's a good point for the go to the Russian market. Also, if you need strong developers and engineers, the Russia could be place where you can hire engineers. For example, if you hire developers in Silicon Valley or in New York, you will pay 5 or 10 times more than in Russia. Of course, it depends on the area. It's about data science or it's about Python developers. It depends, but we have more high qualified engineers who can produce incredible products. It's not about the market. I mean that engineers is just background. It's not the place where you have sales and marketing. But some companies have his production offices in Russia.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I think that is all.
That's a good point, actually, and I would even emphasize on the importance of the quality of the network of developers in here and the quality of the people you can hire. So it's maybe the market is not the biggest in the world, but still there is a lot of opportunity to expand the business. However, if you build an operations office of your global operations office here in Russia, it may give you some global extra advantage to be on the market, but not only for the sake of winning the market, but also it might be the tool or the source for winning the global markets, especially the expensive Western markets. And this is how Russian startups are using this as a leverage over Western countries. And this is what global startups might be using as a leverage versus their expensive headcount, right? Workforce.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I many times said that the Russian market is not the biggest, but actually, I believe that Russia is one of top 10 or top 15 companies in the world for the IT business. We have a fast adoption. We have a good penetration of internet. We have a fantastic mobile internet. For example, if you go to Silicon Valley, we will have not the same level with Russia of quality of mobile internet or other kind of services. For example, in Russia, we have 24 hours banks, 24 hours grocery, and so on. And
even bars, even nightclubs and bars.
even bars, even clubs and bars. Actually, we have a lot of opportunity for different kind of businesses. Somewhere we're not the best place. Somewhere I believe that we're best place for the start.
If you want to find the worst internet, probably you want to go to the most innovative place in the world, which is Silicon Valley, right? Everyone loves Silicon Valley, but the internet there sucks.
This is why they want to improve internet and software.
Actually, it's a traditional problem of having a legacy. The same problem is why they have very outdated bankings. They just started early. For example, in France, Société Générale, they're testing all their infrastructure in Africa because this is a green field for everything. Most modern payment services and like exotic fintechs, they're tested in Africa, for example. So this is also the same. So from my experience, there are not that many international startups expanding to Russia. But there are still some, not that many examples, maybe not that many companies exploring these opportunities, but there are still some companies pursuing that way. For example, there are a lot of startups which which participate in various programs from Korea, South Korea. And the question to you is, what is if you're an international company and would like to expand to Russia, so what would be the best maybe stage when you do this? Is it a pre-seed, seed, Series A? And if you decide to expand to this market, how you do it? Like relocate founders, open a local entity. So
walk us through that.
Great. Yeah. At first, we help many Russian companies to go abroad, to the US or Germany or United Kingdom or other countries. And the entering to the Russian market the same. If you do something in B2B enterprise area, you have to have a Russian local entity with a Russian sales team and a local market and a local presence. But if you have something for a consumer market or for small medium business, you can sell it during the internet without local presence. For example, Google work with a lot of Russian small medium enterprises, and they sell the advertising. Yes, they have a Russian local office, but it's just for localization. They don't have, or maybe some representative function, but it's not about the sales. And as the bottom line, if you do something in enterprise area, you need local representative and local office. If you do something in small media businesses and or consumer market, you don't need these guys. But of course, you have to have native speakers and people with Russian background who mentally understand Russian people, who can connect, who can write down the right sentence and so on. And it's how to go to the Russian market. Also, the good question is when to go to the Russian market. If you have a strong connection and strong understanding of the Russian market, you can do it from the day one. If you have, for example, South Korean experience or Indonesian experience, and you want to go to worldwide, the first question is which market is the best for you. What I mean under the best, where there you have the many clients, where you have the biggest amount of the money of your clients, and where you will have a best capitalization. And Russia is not the first place in this area. And I believe that the Russian market makes sense to enter if you have already captured larger markets. For example, you have the first place in the United States, you have the first place in United Kingdom, and you have the first place in Germany, and you don't have enough space for the growth in these countries. And okay, why we will not go to the Russia? Or you have to that markets and you are late to them. For example, you have a lot of competitors in US, or you don't have the problem in the Germany. Okay, this is time to go to the Russian market. And if you are startup from the other country and you have a plan to come to the Russia, then I would recommend going to some acceleration program. Maybe it's our program, maybe it's Sber 500 program or other accelerators, because typically accelerators have a lot of connection. For example, we work with a few dozen companies from Russian biggest 1,000 companies in the Russia. We can help to enter to the biggest company. We know which channel works for the sales, how cold calls work in the Russia, and so on. And many accelerators can help with that. One of the other way how to come to the Russian market is to buy small team or maybe big team in Russia, but less than new company. For example, we have a few example. For example, we have a few example, of course. For example, BlaBlaCar. How BlaBlaCar penetrate to the Russian market? They just attract the Russian startup подорожники, Ukrainian startup подорожники, which provide service in Ukraine, Russia, Belarus, and in this region. They just acquire this company, and they have Russia as a market. The same strategy works for Groupon more than 10 years ago, and so on. It means you can find the small Russian startup with Russian mentality, with Russian relations, with understanding of Russian market, and just acquire this company. And this is one of the way how to start in Russian market, and don't take a risk of Russian mentality. You will just have right people on the board.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
I just go ahead.
I wanted, I wanted to add a few cents. What I've saw, what I've seen, there was a company from Israel, and they were expanded to Russia at pre-seed. So they were just having their first clients, and the reason they did it is because there is a big community, Israeli Jewish community in Russia historically, and they just using this community, they just could acquire the first enterprise clients. So they acquired a big client, which actually granted a contract, and they were able to build their MVP and started kickstarting their sales, and then they expanded to the US. And given this example, I would I give this an example for the reason we have a lot of corporate accelerators, like a lot of corporations, like 100 maybe, running accelerations themselves or in partnership with some other companies. And all these acceleration programs have have the same faces of startups, like participating in one and another acceleration program. So if you would like to acquire an enterprise client, and for example, like PwC, for example, Russia, applying to this, you have just maybe in some cases you have less competition and faster to get the first clients, which would you otherwise it would maybe harder to get. So this is one, and yeah, and the second and the second considering regulation. First of all, we have in Russia there is their version of GDPR. So if you're dealing with personal data, you need to comply with it. It's doable. It's not that crazy. And the other part about the local presence, I believe that there was a regulation in place that IT companies should actually open like some presence, like entity or something. So it's brand new. You just need to double check on that.
Yeah, and I would like to add in here that the power of technoparks is also increasing and to support startups, and they're building soft landing programs just to soft land international startups. And there are a few in Moscow region, like Skolkovo. There is one in St. Petersburg, Ingria. There is another one in Kazan, which is Innopolis and Kazan Technopark. Also, we have Technopark in Novosibirsk, that is Akadem Park. We have more technoparks that are trying to help. They are mostly helping local entrepreneurs to expand at least across Russia and start make the first steps in their business. However, they are trying and emphasizing and pushing their soft landing programs. And I completely agree with the guys. I would just add that these corporate programs or specific accelerator programs, they have specific targets. For example, oil and gas accelerators of like large corporations, or maybe there are specific other programs that could help you expand in a specific segment in Russia. It's a great way of starting in this country. So my next question would be: there are some myths about Russia. Let's talk about Russian business practices. What should an international startup account for when expanding to Russia?
First of all, not Russians drink vodka.
Yeah,
Play balalaika.
and we don't have animals on the street.
No bears in the street. All right.
No bears on the street. Yeah. But we have a lot of beautiful girls and good bars which works 24 hours. Actually, there is. I don't face with a lot of myths, but I would pay attention to the following factors. In Russia, big businesses are highly dependent on the states. I mean that more than 40% of biggest Russian company, part of its shares belongs to the Russian government. It's just reality. It's not a myth. It's part of Russian reality. But also we have a lot of public companies like Yandex, biggest telecom, a lot of banks, retail companies, and so on. And this the same company which we have everywhere in the world. It's public company with compliance and so on, but it's quite typical for all countries. Medium and small business in Russia is infancy and it's not growing fast. What I mean, we have a Soviet Union before the 1990s, and we have just 30 years of the free market. And the small business in Russia is not so developed as in other countries, and the level of understanding, level of processes, and so in small medium business is not so good. And small medium business in Russia is not the best target audience. And the other problem, if you want to sell something for the consumers, most Russians have little income, and they can only spend money on the basic needs. It's just a reality, and I'm not happy with it, but it's just.
It is what it is, right?
Yes, it's what it is. And one more thing, Daniil said that we have a lot of soft landing program in Kazan, in St. Petersburg, and other cities, but more than 50 of the main clients in Russia are concentrated in Moscow, and more than 50% of revenue company generate in Moscow. And if you want to go to the Russia, it makes sense to start it from the Moscow. There is the biggest client. There we have a lot of clients. There we have a lot of money, and if you can start business in Moscow, maybe you can spread everywhere in Russia. But if you can't start in the Moscow, I think that you don't have any chances in other cities in the Russia. This is why the same situation for Russian startups. More than 50% of Russian startups concentrated in Moscow. 7 or 10% of Russian startups in St. Petersburg, and just a few percent in other cities, for example, Yekaterinburg, Kazan, Novosibirsk, Krasnodar, and others. Just 1-3% of the startups was founded in that city. We have a Moscow-centered country.
Just a couple of cents. There are some business models in Russia which are actually, if you are doing something very cheap, like for example, we have the big retailer Magnet, which actually attacks Moscow at the very end of their journey. So there are some business models which are too cheap, like maybe which would be better, or taking driver, for example. Their business model was working better in other regions, just because they are oriented on the other subsector. But the general rule is that Moscow is the capital, and a lot of business is done here. So first of all, you need to test this ground. So then we're running out of time, but still have a couple of like 10 minutes or so. Maybe let's talk about I don't know, typical mistakes which entrepreneurs or expats doing business in Russia typically do. Or maybe thinking of what could people do wrong, or both in terms of business practices or and I don't know.
Yeah, consider taking into account international founders, of course. Yeah, preferably.
Actually, I believe that we have the same mistakes for startups which come to the Russian market, or for the startups which come to the German market or UK market. The first, what we see with from our experience is that underestimation of resources to obtain traction in the market. Startups is quite optimistic, and they believe that we have $10,000 and we can build enough traction in this company, and we can raise money on the local market from local investors. Typically, you need a dedicated team which is responsible only for that market. If you have a team which is responsible for the few market, for example, for your local market and for Russian, I don't believe in that. Or, for example, you have a special team for Eastern Europe market, and team responsible for Poland, for Ukraine, for Russia. I believe that if you start from this kind of expansion, it doesn't work. You need a dedicated team for the one country, and you need not less than $100,000 for the marketing and sales experiments. And after 6 months and $100,000 with dedicated team, you can reach the traction. If you have less resources and you don't have dedicated team, actually you will have an underfunded expansion, and you just spend money and time. Also, typically I see that startups choose the market on the face. Just I believe that Russia is a good country, or I have a friend in Russia, I want to expand my business to this country. Choosing the market, it's a few steps. Rely on the market analytics, from GDP to the how many clients of this kind I have in this country, trying to get the first customers, take the interview with them, check which kind of competitors do we have, and before they enter into the market, have taken such steps for 5 or 6 markets. And first step, before the dedicated team, just create a short list with 5 countries where you want to start, and do interview with clients on these 5 markets, trying to sell through the Facebook ads or Google ads, and just feel which market will start faster. And after that, dedicate team and money on that market. And you always need to find a native speaker who not only knows the language, but also understands the mentality and knows or can figure out the structure of the local market. The best native speaker will the people with experience in area of your startup. For example, if you do something for fintech, for the banks or for the retails, you hire the people with experience in that area, and you will go faster if you have this person in your team.
Mm-hmm.
This is
all right.
Three steps for the success.
That's actually great to have some steps and some structure. And we already have one question from YouTube streaming. And the guys who those who are watching us on YouTube and other social media, Please use this chance to ask Dmitry your questions about entering Russian markets and expanding here if you have those questions. In the meantime, we have one question that relates to my question that I have to you. So one person is asking, how is it different to fundraise in Russia versus United States or Europe? And I would add that overall funding is important for all startups. So what are the typical way of fundraising in Russia, and what is the specific of this process? So it's like very close to my question as well.
On the one hand, it's quite close. Warm connection, the list of potential investors, try to find who can introduce you to these business angels or VC firms, and this work the same. But we have some difference. For example, if you go to the US market, you just have a list from 100 to 200 VCs which will understand in that area. In Russia, we will have a short list, maybe 10 or 5 VC in one area. For example, if you want to come in Russian market to Russian market and do something in health area, you will have maybe 5 or 7 VC who invest in that area. The same situation with angel investors. We have just 1,000 or 2,000 people who invest at early stage. If you do the same in the United States, you have more than 100,000 potential investors. And one more thing is that 80% of VC and 80% of angel investors want to invest in company with global traction. As I said previously, the Russian market is not so big, and in 90% of area, you can't build a big company. And this is why 80% of Russian VC companies and 80% of angels want to invest in global company, not in Russian company. But also we have a lot of strategic investors like Sberbank, MTS, Yandex, VK, and other local giants who have his own VC entity, corporate venture capital entity, and they invest in startups. And this is one of the way how to find your investor in Russia.
Yeah, I do add a couple of cents. The first of all, there is like not only corporate VCs, but also some VCs which took like funds, government funding, and they are obliged to invest in companies. It can be even an international company, but having some local presence and business in Russia. So for those types of companies, and they typically prefer Series A, Series Bs, that would be something where you on one hand say, okay, I'm attacking like US or European or Indian market, and I have a local presence, hire people, I would like to raise a couple of millions of dollars to build this local business. For whatever reason, it's relevant. The other part is like the number one question typically VCs are asking both government or corporate as well as private investors, why are you expanding to Russia? Because there are a lot of cases when works negative selection. So the startup couldn't manage to raise money in their local geography, so they are looking for funding in this geography. And the good answer would be here is like you have some investor in your geography, and the other investor from the local investor, you need them just because of like the market intelligence and whatsoever. Yeah, and also I would like to add about the angel investments. It's actually developing, and unfortunately we didn't have we had technical problems and
no, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, I mean, Sergey didn't manage to join us today. He's the founding partner of Angel's Desk. This is actually Russian version of Angel List, and they're doing they've done quite a lot of deals. Even Dmitry, I believe you syndicated something or presented some cases there. So lately, as everywhere in the world, lately a lot more and more business angels got interested in investing in various companies, and since a lot of investors are newcomers.
Denis, Denis, just a second. I just interrupt you. We have some background noise just to prevent somebody is touching the microphone. Just be aware of that. Maybe yours.
It's not on my end, but I believe it's Dmitry. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
And yeah, so on one hand, like a lot of people are educating themselves on that, and as far as I know, IIDF do some programs for them. But on the other hand, those new business angels, they are looking for opportunities since they are starting, and like it's maybe sometimes easier than like they are limited in the pipeline, in the flow of deals they have. So and that would be a good like in favor of a company. So it's maybe somehow easier to negotiate. Okay. I don't know. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I completely agree that Angel's Deck is the best business angel community in Russia. There are more than 500 active investors, and if you connect with people who can syndicate deals in this community, this is the good step for the success, because they have more than 100 deals every year. And if one of syndicator promote your deal in this community, it's 80 or 90% of success that you will have closed around from investors in Russia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my question is about like soft landing programs and how to start in Russia. And here specifically, we can mention, for example, Skolkovo with their taxation and the latest development of incentivizing investments. So some benefits for the angels, and also maybe a couple of words of what you're doing at IIDF with regards to working with startups and providing an ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Actually, we don't have a special soft landing program for startups. I mean, as IIDF, what we can, how we can help for the startups. At first, we have acceleration program, and this is a well-connected program in the Russia. We know every people in every companies in the Russia. We provide this program more than 8 years, and we have more than 1,000 startups which graduated from this program. Also, we are investor, and we invest in startups. But as I said previously, mostly we right now invest in startups which go from Russian market to the world market. But sometimes we invest in good opportunity in local market. And also, we are operator of some corporate acceleration program. For example, biggest Russian banks or biggest Russian retailers company, they have a program for proof of concept. They take some startups for proving that their startups can help them improve the revenue, decrease the spending on something else, and they paid for that. And if you have successful proof of concept, they will scale you to the whole company. And this is one of the easiest way how to penetrate to the Russian market, because you have a good client, and this is one of the biggest client in the Russia, and you can start faster from the scratch. And if you talk about the special lending program with grants or something else, actually I don't know this kind of product, this kind of program in Russia. And also, unfortunately, we don't have something like startup visa for the founders if you want to come to the Russian market and stay here for the few months. But actually, it's not a problem. You can solve this quest and have a legal visa to Russia, but there is no some special way for the founders.
Yeah, so Dmitry just answered the questions that came from our YouTube channel. Does Russia offer startup visa? And I didn't hear anything about that. And the other question was from YouTube channel, and you partially answered that, how to get a pilot in Russia. So probably those large clients, large corporate companies that are doing some acceleration program with your company or some other accelerators, they might be the good entry point to enter these corporations and to do a pilot. So it's a kind of safe environment for both sides. And yeah, but on taxation side, we have maybe some more clarity, because I know that there are some organizations or maybe some territories offering some tax breaks. So if you can elaborate on that.
Yes, the Skolkovo is one of the best place with taxation, but actually I think that the Skolkovo is not the place where you have where the makes sense to start, because if you have a Skolkovo lending in the Skolkovo, you have to develop the software in the Skolkovo too. If you have a plan, just open the sales office. We have a few special zone, for example, Kazan or Kaliningrad, where you have a lower taxation, and you just open the office with one person and establish the small company. And if you have a good growth on the Russian market, the next step is go to the Skolkovo. If we back to the question about the pilots, the good the working thing is that just create a short list of the company which is more attractive for you. For example, if you do something for the bank, you open the list of the biggest Russian bank, and there is Sberbank, Gazprom Bank, VTB, Alpha Bank, so some other, and just write down the accelerator of VTB, accelerator of Sberbank, accelerator of other bank, and you will find out the date where the application process will start. And it's quite easy. If you have a time for the 6 or 9 months, you will choose 2 or 3 programs from these companies. The same situation with retail, with some production company, and so on. Actually, we have more than 40 acceleration programs from biggest Russian company during the year.
Mm-hmm. Actually, so you know, you can go either through acceleration or you go your way. If you're trying to go your way, so it's typical B2B sales, and here you need to identify the corporations which are more open to the innovations around and pilots. Typically, they have like innovation department or person. And typically, when they have a person like that, they typically either run run acceleration programs or do hackathons or something. So you just check the website and look if there is something associated with the innovation, and it means that they are more open to working with startups, and maybe there is a there is a fast track. So you attack those companies first, and the second one is like you just take hire a well-connected person who employs his or her network and and reaching out to his clients. It works the same way as it works everywhere in corporate sales, and there is also maybe if you can if you need to have a legal entity in Russia to do a pilot. I don't believe it's mandatory. You can because you can pay to a foreign company, but of course having a local LLC helps a lot in terms of in terms of the transaction and all this stuff. But if you're just testing the ground, I believe you can do it. So like you can accept money from an international your international entity.
Yeah, actually, it depends on the company. For example, I know that one of the biggest Russian retail company, X5 Group, they can pay internationally, and they're looking for a company from Europe, and they have process how to work with non-Russian company. In other company, I think that if you don't take money for the pilot, you can do pilot without the Russian entity. If you want to take money from the big company for the pilot, sometimes they can't pay outside of Russia. Actually, they can, but they will not care about the few $1,000 for this process. Only one thing which can doesn't work in there, you will subscribe non-disclosure agreement, and this agreement will write down on the, for example, on the two languages, on the Russian and on the English, but you can do it with non-Russian company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other thing came to mind is if some of you are actually having like specific request. A friend of mine did a couple of soft landing for a couple of Korean startups. So if you have a specific request, just reach out to me in LinkedIn, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Maybe I can answer specifically on that.
All right, so we are about to wrap up. I see we have more questions coming from social media, and there is one more question we have, and I suggest we address it, and we have a special way of closing session, so I'll explain how we do it. But what is your thoughts on this question? How risky is it to get investments from state funds for future growth of startups? Dmitry?
Yes, you have a risk with that. Actually, it depends on the management team, because some management team from funds which funded from the government can take the risk, and the problem will not relate with sanction. Problem will related with the management team. They will block the old solutions, because they, for example, you have other investors, and these investors are ready to invest, but previous investor will block the deal. And from my experience, is the bigger problem than sanction or other stuff. But how to solve this? At first, if you have a plan to build the company on the Russian market, it's not a problem. Actually, it's additional advantages, that you have money from Russian government, and half of the Russian biggest company, government-related company, and this is easier way how to come to these clients. But if you have a plan, build a business not only in Russia but everywhere in the world, the best question is to communicate with startups from the portfolio of this fund, and ask them how you solve the problem. For example, when you go abroad from the Russian market, do you have any problem? How you solve that, and so on. And just to check how it works for them. For example, if we look in Wikipedia, you will see that IDF was founded by President of the Russia, and it sounds not so good. But actually, we don't have money from the government. We work with corporate money, and we invest from Delaware company in the United States, and many of our startups have co-invest from biggest worldwide VCs, and it works. What the bottom line is? Bottom line is just a check of how other startups in portfolio of this fund works with this problem. If they have the good solution and they don't have a problem with worldwide expansion, it's okay. If they have, okay, just don't take a risk for your company.
Yeah, I would add up here. So first of all, it depends. Like our business is in any geography is about people doing this business. Some government funds, they have hired people from like which worked for private venture capitals, and they have the other mindset, acting as pure financial investors. There are of course some limitations, but they can smooth this trajectory, and especially if you're coming after big checks like I don't know, tens of millions of dollars, and maybe RFPI would be an option for you to raise this money. I believe that there are many cases when companies, even foreign companies, go that way, like expand into Russia. But at the end of the day, it depends on the team. And yes, as any, I believe in any country, like people from the government, like government associated, they are willing to take less risk, and this is why people VC corporate VCs, they prefer to go to the later stages, just to have the better balance of the risk, like having less downside. Yeah.
All right. So it seems like we nailed it, and we just discussed another startup ecosystem of our big world of different ecosystems, and we have innovation happening in every single part of our planet. But every country has something what may be beneficial for international founders. And Russia is one of those great countries to explore for international entrepreneurs to soft land and maybe use specific benefits to build businesses from here or through this ecosystem. Well, we had great answers and detailed conversation about this ecosystem, and thank you, Dmitry, for giving this answer. Thank you, Denis, for great questions and collaborating with me. But before I let you go, we like to end this in a genuine way, just sharing what you have on your, like, as a final say, a final recommendation on your mind, on your heart, to global audience of startups. And I let you, Denis, to to say your final thoughts, to be first to say your final thoughts, and the final word you'll give Dmitry to close this session. So,
Yeah, I
Denis.
always say that you need to think as an entrepreneur, and regardless what we said, like getting some insights, no one knows the best way to build a big company. A lot of people know how to fuck it up because these are the typical questions. But how to win the market and what market to take to win is always a journey, and you need to figure it out. So you can listen our insights or on this market, on other markets. There are ups and downs, cons and pros, and take a decision for yourself. For example, I've seen a company expanding from Africa to Southeast Asia, just because of they have the same level of corruption and business processes whatsoever. Not expanding, for example, to Eastern Europe, and this is quite a unique approach. And if you're unique, you can get higher returns. So just keep this in mind, because we're in the business of outliers, and outliers are acting exceptionally.
All right. So, Dmitry, what is your final say, and what you have in your mind and heart to close the session, sharing with the global founders?
Yeah, I completely agree with Daniel that don't care about fuck ups, because everybody have a lot of fuck ups, and the big question is not how many fuck ups do you have, but do you have only one success, and be passionate about it. And when you choose the market with a large number of customers and growing demand by more than 40%, because this doesn't make any sense to come to the market which going down. If the market is growing up, you just be on the top. And the second thing is that you can actively use accelerators and advisors and people like me, on Denis, on Daniel, because this kind of people will help you to be more efficient in your use of time and investment, and just take the tips and go forward.
All right. Thank you so much. That was Dmitry Kalaev, Denis Kalyshin, and myself, and we were speaking about startup ecosystem in Russia. Guys, to support us, just give us a large like and subscribe to our channel. You can also comment and ask questions, and if we find good questions, and we will reach out to the speaker and get back to you with an answer. Thank you so much, guys, for your participating, and we will continue with our great talks. Tomorrow we'll have another webinar, and this month we have lots of talks from international founders from around the world, from Australia, from Russia, from United States. Just stay tuned. We have so many great content, and content is not just for the sake of inspiration. We want to really help you. So bring your questions, and you'll get the answers. Thank you, and